Welcome back, everybody. It's great to have you.
So in this video, we're going to share with you exactly how we host our Rosary Potluck suppers that have an attendance of 60 to 100 people every month. If this is of interest to you, can keep on watching. If not, you can stop here, but we have to tell you something before we get into the video.
This is our fourth time recording this video. Fourth.
Yeah.
That's never happened to us before. Like maybe once in a while, there was a glitch. The camera stopped working, and we've had to do it twice.
That's right. We had to do a retake twice in, 400 videos, a handful of times.
Yeah.
This is the fourth time we're doing this video. Anyways, why? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a great blessing to you. We hope it is.
I know. Like there is something working against us here.
So this is how we host our Rosary Potluck suppers. If you want to know why we do what we do, that video will be linked at the end of this video. Many people saw last week's video, which is at the end of this video. We're asking questions like, how do you host this? They wanted the details more specifically. So we're going to be very detailed today. So go ahead.
All right. So the very first thing that we do after we've acknowledged that, yes, the Lord wants us to host this event, is that we pray about a date. Because we don't always host these events like the third Thursday of the month. We literally look at our calendar and say what works best for our family. I never consult other families and say, okay, does this evening work for you? Because there really aren't too many evenings that are, suitable for our family to have a big group come into the house. And so Ken and I have to really look at our calendar and decide what works best for our family. And then the other thing that I also look at is the liturgical calendar, because I love it when these events fall on a feast day. So for example, our very first one in this house we had was on January 1st, the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God. And I just thought that was so special to be under Our Lady's mantle and to start these events in this house on her special feast day. And then we also hosted one on the Nativity of Our Lady, which was September 8th. And then other times, sometimes they're just, saints or solemnities, or sometimes they just aren't. And that's okay too. You just kind of have to do what's best for your family. Okay, so once you have the date set, then you kind of have to start thinking about who should you invite. And this is another important part. You have to really ask the Lord, who do you want to come to this event? And you allow him to place it on your heart, or to bring people to mind that he thinks should be here and benefit from this event. And so sometimes when I'm at Mass beforehand, I'll think, okay, Lord, who is it that you want me to invite? And I'll see different families or different people, and I'll be like, okay. And I'll start making a running list. And then once I have that list kind of made up, and I'm always adding to the list, or I look back to previous events and I looked, who did we invite last time? And, I try to, if someone hasn't been invited for a while, try to remember to invite them. And it's difficult because clearly we only have a limited amount of space, so we can't always invite everybody every single time. But anyhow, I just trust God that he will take care of everything, and that I don't have to worry about people being offended. I just really don't want anyone to feel offended or left out. Okay, so I send in a text message as an invitation, and it's always through text because that just seems to work the best for me. And then I try to make it a little bit personalized in the sense of always using the person's name. And then if I've for some reason had an interaction with them recently, maybe at church or maybe at an event that our kids were both at, I'll try to address that and be like, it was really great to see you at, so-and-so's birthday party or at this sporting event or whatnot. And just to kind of have a little touch point, and just so that they know, I want them to know that they're special and loved and, unique in the eyes of God. And hopefully they can sense that when they get my text message. So this is what I send them. Good morning, so-and-so and family. Just wanted to invite your family to the next Rosary Potluck, Thursday, October 10th, 2024. If you could let me know within the next couple of days if you and your family can make it, that would be very helpful. Come anytime after 5:30. Potluck supper begins at 6, Rosary at 7, dessert at 7:30, and at 8:30. We pray for 3 intentions. Number 1, reparation for sin, our own personal sin and the sin of the world. 2, for peace in the world and in our families. 3, that God would raise up saints in our midst. We really hope you can all make it. I'll be serving chicken drumsticks, broccoli salad, and wild rice salad. I'll send another message a day before letting everyone know who's all coming and what they are bringing.
So to be clear, you can host this and you don't have to serve wild rice salad.
No, and actually, when I think back, I shouldn't have made all these difficult salads because it was a little bit stressful for me that day. Too much cutting and chopping. Okay, so the reason why I let people know what I am providing is because then they kind of have a benchmark of like, okay, Janelle's already providing chicken, maybe I'll make something different, or something that complements that, or there's no dessert yet, so I'll bring a dessert. And then they just know a little bit of what to expect. I also like to tell them that I will send out another message letting them know who's all coming and what they're bringing. Because I just know that sometimes, like even for myself, if I'm going somewhere new, it's nice to know that there's somebody else that's going to be there that I know. And if not, then I have to have the courage to just, make new friends. And that's good too. So then I wait. Once I send this text message out, I wait to hear back from them. If I don't hear within a day or two, I do send them another message just saying, hey, just wondering if your family is able to come to the Rosary Potluck, no pressure. And this way, because it helps me to then, if they can't come, then I can invite another family. And I don't ever want people to feel pressured, either way. And I'm never offended if somebody says no. It's totally okay to not come to our Rosary Potluck. They have to do what's best for them and their families. The other thing is, like, when I think of like people to invite, I try to have a wide range of people. So sometimes, like in the early days of when we were hosting these events,
because we started in 2018,
it was mostly geared towards families. But now we kind of have a whole range. Like I like to have some young adults and, retired couples, people who, maybe they have university students as children, or, they're newly married. It's just a wide range. There's no prerequisite to, your state of life. It just, as long as you want to be, you're open to praying the rosary with a group of Catholics. That would be lovely.
That's it.
Yeah. And we also like to have also a little bit of a connection with the person because we do have a lot of little children in our home. And so we have to know the person at least a little bit. So then the day before I send out this message, once I have the list of who's all coming, this is what I send them. Good afternoon, so-and-so. We are very much looking forward to having your family come to our Rosary Potluck on Thursday evening, October 10th. Come anytime after 5:30. Potluck supper will be at 6. Rosary at 7, dessert at 7:30, and the end time is 8:30. If you have any questions, feel free to text or call. And then I write my text number and I send Ken's number as well. And then I write the whole list of who's all coming and what they're bringing. A lot of people don't always know what they're bringing, and that's fine. So there's a lot of blanks as to what people are bringing. And then at the very end, I write, do not worry if you can't bring something for the meal, or if what you had planned has now changed. All is well. We always have more than enough food. See you all soon. And honestly, I have never been concerned about the food. I just know that the Lord always provides. And even if there wasn't enough food, I know nobody's going to starve. So that's that. And then...
and on that list, oftentimes there's religious, right?
Oh, yeah. I do love to have like somebody who's either a priest or a sister attend the event. It doesn't always happen. But it is really lovely for, other people to have that exposure to these people in a home setting. Okay, so once we have the invitations sent and I'm kind of figuring out who's all coming, then we start the preparations. So I make sure that I have the food that I said I was going to prepare ahead of time. The evening before, I start thawing the meat and we start tidying up the house.
I think we usually start cleaning up the house in the afternoon before the guests come, or is it earlier?
Well, like I always have in the back of my mind, it's the Rosary Potluck this week. Like maybe I should start decluttering this little corner or something.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, mine shifts just kind of in the afternoon before people come. So this is what we do. We clear the clutter from the counters. We pick up the toys. We make sure there's toilet paper in the bathrooms. There's hand towels there for people. We want the space to feel welcoming to people. We want them to know that they're loved, that we appreciate them, and we want the space to communicate that. When we're washing a dish or cleaning a space, why are we doing that? It is because we love the person who will be using that space or that dish. And so this is why we clean our home. We want people to experience the love of God. Mm-hmm. And so we get ready, and it takes some time. It takes the afternoon to clean the house up. The kids are involved with that. That's good for kids to have chores and to learn responsibility. And they know that they're working towards this event that's happening right around the corner. So there's a time limit as well. You got to work fast.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, I think, I don't want someone to pull out the chair at the table and see a bunch of ketchup all over the chair. So it's just, for me, like, I want them to feel like, okay, this is like a nice, comfortable space to come and be in. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, like, we have to think ahead of time, like, okay, what about where are people going to hang up their coats? Where are they going to put the food when they come in? And so that's actually, Ken, you're always really good at.
So with the coats, we have a entrance area, a boot room that we call it, and I go there before our guests come, and I clear out all our family's jackets. If it's in the wintertime, it's the parkas and the mitts, and I take them, sometimes multiple trips, and I go into the garage and I put them into our vehicle. That way, when someone comes into our entrance, it's completely clear of clutter, and a person can easily find a hook and put their jacket or their parka. It just makes it easier when they come in, instead of coming in and you're like, where do I put my things?
Yeah, exactly. And so prior to people entering into our home, we have a little meeting with our kids, and we kind of delegate different roles, because it's really important for our children to understand that we are a hosting family. And so when we host, there are certain kind of characteristics that we should have. And that is, the virtue of affability, which is friendliness. And so having a smile on your face.
Lead with a smile.
Yeah, and sometimes that doesn't always come naturally to all of us. And sometimes it requires a lot of practice. So our kids are told to welcome people. And they're even, we sometimes model, like, when someone walks through the door, what do we say to them? Welcome, it's great to see you, thank you for coming. And so we'll have a couple children at the door to make sure that there's somebody greeting them. If it can't be Ken or I'm usually frantically, doing some last minute things. And then they also help the guests find a spot for their jackets or their shoes, or where to put their bins with their food. And then they lead them up into the living space, especially if they're a new person. It's really good to have somebody there to greet them.
Now, if you come to our place and our children maybe don't quite do that exactly right, just be patient with them. They're learning. Yeah. So this is a work in progress. Some are stronger at it than others, and including us sometimes on a given day, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then the people will often come up into the kitchen area, and they'll have their hands full of food, and then we'll tell them where the different food can go. So for example, like, I like all the salads to be over here, all the hot dishes over here. Desserts are placed in a separate area away from the supper meal, simply because I like to keep it. We actually have our dessert after the rosary. And so this way it's like out of sight, out of mind, nobody's tempted. And so if you have like maybe a laundry room or a closet or a pantry, or it's just somewhere, so that even if it's like in the corner somewhere, just so that nobody's like tempted to like lift the saran wrap off and take a little cookie or something.
Particularly little kids.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to eliminate that problem. And then at that point...
Guest book.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, so we do actually have a guest book. Some of our kids are more on top of that than others, and they like to have our guests sign it. So often someone will be at the entrance with that guest book and asking people to sign it. At this point, people are in the house, and I'm looking at my watch to see like, okay, it's about supper time, or we're already over the time. We got to get supper started. So I grab a bell that we got from Ken's great aunt.
Auntie Mary, thank you for the bell.
I go and ring it. So I'll go outside, I'll go in the basement, I'll go upstairs, and I just ring this bell, and everybody gathers into the kitchen. And at this point, I usually find a chair to stand on, and then Ken stands right next to me, and you welcome everyone.
Yes, I say, welcome everyone. It's so wonderful to have you in our home. We're grateful that you're here. And then I quickly turn it over to Janelle.
And I kind of just go through a list of like little housekeeping things, like where are the washrooms? Where can everybody eat? Because I think sometimes people don't know, like, can we eat on the couches? Can we, go into that space over there? So I just sort of explain, if you have little children, please keep them on the laminate floor just to eliminate some of the, messes that might come up. And then, the adults, you're welcome to sit on the couches if you'd like, or go out on the front deck, or if you're 10 and older, you can go into this space. Try not to go into the basement with food. Sometimes I find plates down there 2 weeks later. And, so one thing that I forgot to mention is that prior to everyone coming, I also have to make sure that I have enough dishes. We use disposable plates just because of the amount of people. I don't have enough glass plates for everybody. But my mother-in-law did go out and buy actual cutlery from secondhand stores for us. So that was a huge blessing. So we have real cutlery with disposable plates. I also have disposable cups. And then this way we kind of have a water area, water jugs, disposable cups with Sharpie markers. Everybody can label their name on the cup. Because if you have 60 or more people, you don't want people taking multiple cups, right? Because that ends up being a lot of garbage, and when we could have just reused the same one. I have my coffee all ready to go. I have the pot started. This way people, when they come in, I can offer them, especially if they're a new person, I can offer them, would you like to have some coffee or some tea?
So we have real cups for the coffee?
Yeah, I do have real mugs for that. I actually did go and find some of those at the secondhand store, and yeah, which is really nice.
And I don't think we touched, but in terms of drinking, we do not serve juice.
Yeah, no, I only have water just because it eliminates like sticky spills, and those are big messes to clean up. And everybody's fine with water. And then, after I explain to everybody kind of like how things are going to run, I also mention if you have maybe for you, if you have pets, how do you want people to deal with your pets? And then also, if kids are going upstairs into the bedrooms, we make sure that the bedroom doors are always open. We explain that there's more bathrooms upstairs if you want to. It's just important for people to know like kind of the limits and where people can go. Maybe if you have a space in your house that's off limits, it's important to articulate that to them as well. And then I hand it over back to Ken.
Yeah, so the way that Janelle just described what the announcements at the beginning actually took longer than the actual announcements that happened. And it's a quick part, just saying this is where you can go, this is where you can eat, this is where the bathrooms are. It's really quick. Then I will then start with grace. And so we do the sign of the cross, say the traditional bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts. And then we end with, for the souls of the faithful departed, the mercy of God, rest in peace. People join in for that. And with the sign of the cross. And then Janelle directs people on how to line up for the meal.
Yes, so I just explained the potluck line. And then I also mentioned that the next time you hear the bell, that means that we are going to be praying the rosary in 5 minutes. And at that point, people are free to just mingle and enjoy their meal and taste all these amazing dishes that people bring. It's so fun to see what people bring.
And this is the exciting part. Janelle and I never sit together and we never eat together. And the reason is we want to spread out and engage all our guests. We want to talk to all our guests as much as possible, make them feel welcomed and comfortable. I usually don't eat during this time. And the reason is it takes time to eat. It takes time away from visiting with our guests. And I want to make sure everyone's talked to. During this time, I'm also strategically going to certain men and asking them if they feel comfortable leading a decade of the rosary. So I might go up to somebody and say, hey, would you feel comfortable leading the first decade of the rosary? Janelle will make the announcement of the mystery. Then you lead with your Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, and Oh My Jesus. And I always ask men who have been there before. So they know how everything works. And I get someone to lead the first, second, third, and fourth decade, and I will lead the fifth decade. You might be thinking also, how in the world do Ken and Janelle seat 60 to 100 people in their home for a meal? The answer is we don't. They're all over. Some people are sitting at a table. Some are on a couch. Some are outside. Some are on the floor, sitting on their knees. Some are standing. It's not perfect. It's a little bit of a chaos, but it's a beautiful chaos. That's how we run it. And so if you're thinking, well, it has to be perfect, look, it's definitely not perfect in our home. And people don't care. What people I think care more about is being loved. That's more important than having everything perfect when someone comes into your home and having it place settings and everything. No, we just got to love people. So
at that point, I'm kind of checking my watch and I'm like, oh, okay, it's almost time to pray the rosary. So I usually go and find Ken and I'm like, hey, did you find enough people to lead the decades? And I make sure that I have my pamphlet with the mysteries and the fruits on it so that I don't forget depending on what day it is. And then I'll usually find a young person. We have a basket of rosaries and I ask them, can you start just like taking these rosaries apart and putting them on the coffee table? And then when people come to pray the rosary, you can start handing them out. Because it's nice to sometimes to have an actual rosary in your hand when you're praying the rosary. And then I also kind of find a few people and I just say, can you just tidy up the coffee table to get rid of any of the garbage or the table or even the island, because I have to think ahead. Okay, so after the rosary, we're having dessert and you don't want to be like, okay, the island's full of food. Now where do we put the dessert? So we have to clear the space for dessert. And it's just to prepare things so that things go a little more smoothly after the rosary is done. And sometimes we actually have people washing cutlery because, maybe we need some extra cutlery for the dessert. And then at that point, I go get my bell. I start ringing it again, and then everybody comes into the living space, and Ken and I stand at the front, and we explain how the rosary is going to run.
So I will share that we're gathering and we're praying for 3 intentions, and I say we're praying for peace in the world, peace in our home, for reparation for sin, our own sin and that of the whole world, and that God would raise up saints in our midst. Basically, we're praying for the conversion of ourselves and for other people, that we'd be as holy as we ought to be for the glory of God. I also mentioned that there's been gentlemen who've been asked to lead the decades of the rosary and that they'll jump in at the appropriate times. And then I'll share with them also sometimes the history of how these intentions were placed upon our heart. Maybe that would be another episode that we'll do. And then we begin to pray. And I tell them they can sit, they can stand, they can kneel, whatever is most comfortable. And we begin the rosary with the sign of the cross. I will lead the first part of the rosary, the I believe, Our Father, 3 Hail Marys, glory be. Janelle then says the first mystery. And the first gentleman who's been asked to lead will jump in, and we continue that way up until the 4th decade with different men leading the decades. And then I will lead the 5th decade and end with the additional Hail, Holy Queen and St. Michael prayer. And then we end and conclude with a hymn, the chorus of Ave Maria. We sing that twice and everyone jumps in. And it's beautiful to sing together. And then we end with the sign of the cross.
Yes, and then I say, don't move. And I get everybody to kind of gather close and nice and tight. And I take a nice group photo, which I then text to everybody who's come to the event, just as a little memory of this evening of praying the rosary.
And again, that's not, the picture doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like, oh, you do this quick.
Yeah, it takes 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I let everyone know, okay, just give us a couple minutes to set out the dessert, and then everyone's free to have dessert and mingle and until the end of the evening. And the reason I put an end time for the event is often because it's a school night, right? And so we do have a busy household here with 7 kids. We homeschool. And so it can be kind of exhausting the next day afterwards. And honestly, everybody is very respectful. And sometimes there's some lingering visiting, which is totally fine. I'm not there with my bell being like, okay, everybody, time to go. And yeah, it really is lovely. One thing at the very end, I know at previous times, and not necessarily Rosary Potluck related, but sometimes our kids are like, Mom, why is our house always so messy after? And so, maybe just before some families are leaving, I'll just go into the basement, usually where all the toys are. And I'm like, okay, everyone, let's pick up 10 things. Or, it's actually been really lovely. Different parents or kids, they just clean it up on their own accord. And our house, I find, often is cleaner after everyone leaves than how it was before. Because people are just so willing to, sweep the floor, empty garbages, wash some dishes. I make sure to have our dishwashers emptied so people can just put stuff in the dishwasher if it needs to go in there. And yeah, so I'm just so thankful. I feel like these are such beautiful evenings At the very end, once everybody is gone, then our family just congregates around the island. There might be some leftover dessert, some of the kids might be eating, and we talk about how the evening went. And we say, what do you think went well? What do you think we should do differently? And that's about it.
Yeah, and going to the point as people are leaving, we do try and see people off as they're at the door. Sometimes both of us will stand at the door, or just one of us, but we just want to say thank you for coming. And then that little meeting with the kids, yes. And that's it, right?
And that's it. Yeah.
So if you want to mimic this, we would welcome you to do so. We know that some families are already doing this event in their homes since we've been sharing off and on about this. We do think it's important to pray the rosary for these 3 intentions. We welcome you to consider to do so. You don't need to have this many people in your home. You can start with 3. You can start with a couple friends. But think about starting.
Did you mention that you were going to put the script?
No. So Janelle will give the text that she sends out. If you want that, I'll put that in the description of the email so you can make it your own as well.
And I was thinking this morning before we recorded this video, now for the second time today.
4th attempt.
Was, if there's one underlying message would be, if you aren't already praying a rosary, just get started. Start by praying a daily rosary. And then if you can invite people into that, that's so wonderful. I just think Our Lady is really calling us all to have this special devotion. So other than that, I think that's it. You got to the end of this video, you should get an award because this is a long one. Share with us below what stood out to you and why. We always love learning from you as well. And hey, one last point. If you have already hosted this event in your home, let us know in the comments.